Jeffrey Epstein is back in the news, ladies and gentlemen. And why is this the case? Well, there are many reasons. Well, not really. Well, let's just go back to August 10th when we all woke up, especially those on the West Coast. We woke up that morning to find out that Jeffrey Epstein had supposedly taken his own life by hanging himself. Now, people generally believe that that wasn't the case. We all knew and could just figure out very easily that he had not taken his own life. So what has now he's back in the news again because Dr. Michael Baden, a very prominent person who looks at bodies, and he's just a very good medical examiner and has a very long medical career spanning 5 decades. He says that Jeffrey Epstein's autopsy is more consistent with homicidal strangulation than suicide. That is unbelievably important. And that's really not shocking to anyone. And I really just want to make this point here. If you knew if you knew nothing about science at all, and you knew nothing about the body, how it worked, or anything like that, you could still figure out that Epstein did not kill himself. That was already known. So that is pretty crucial. Just look at the situation that was going on, okay? So you had fake security guards who didn't make their rounds for 3 hours. No camera footage because the cameras were supposedly broken. The guards had fallen asleep. Jeffrey Epstein had already tried to take his own life before. They put him on suicide watch. And that means he's not supposed to be alone in his cell. So he had a partner. He had a cellmate. They removed the cellmate. And I'm not doing this stuff in order. I'm just saying all the things that were involved with his death. It just shows there's no way he killed himself. He had a cellmate. Asked for the cellmate to be removed because he thought he was scary. I think if I remember correctly, he was a former cop, or he either was a former cop or a former person or a former cop killer. I don't remember. But he was intimidated by this guy physically and said, "I don't want him in here." And, Jeffrey Epstein was pretty much taken off the list. And it's just ridiculous. All of these things happened, and it's like clearly something else was involved. I'm not going to point to any person, okay? Because here's the thing. There are many names negatively tied to Jeffrey Epstein. To just point to Donald Trump or, people on the right, they were pointing to Hillary Clinton, or I should say the Clintons. And I was like, okay, maybe. And then there were people on the left pointing to Trump. And I was like, okay, maybe. But you can't pinpoint it on anyone because there were so many names tied to it. The minute those names were released, we all knew that Jeffrey Epstein just didn't have long. We knew there was no chance he was going to make it out of 2019 alive. And then we also knew, and then, it was just a matter of time of like, okay, does he have hours, days, weeks? We just knew he was going to go very soon. So I don't want to point at anybody because there are a lot of people who had to gain from it. So you can't point to any single person. But let's get into this article on Fox News. The body of disgraced money man and sex offender Jeffrey Epstein, who was found dead in his Manhattan federal prison cell in August, bore telltale signs of homicide despite an official ruling that he killed himself. A pioneering forensic pathologist revealed to Fox and Friends in an exclusive interview Wednesday. The bombshell, they say the bombshell claim. First of all, I don't really consider it a bombshell because most people when they heard about it, they just, if you knew just a little bit about Jeffrey Epstein, if you knew that he was a guy connected to multimillionaires and multi-billionaires, he was running a sex ring, got caught, and then, ended up dead. With just those details, you would know, okay, that guy didn't kill himself. Multimillionaires and multi-billionaires have lots of resources. They have way more to lose than the average Joe. So they will go to any means necessary, as many people would go to any means necessary, to protect their name and to protect their stuff. So I wouldn't call it a bombshell claim. Anyway, the bombshell claim by Dr. Michael Baden, a former New York City medical examiner who has worked on high-profile cases during a 5-decade medical career, is certain to reignite suspicions that surfaced immediately after Epstein, who was awaiting trial on federal sex trafficking charges involving underage girls, who was discovered dead in his cell on August 10th. Baden, who was hired by Epstein's brother and observed the autopsy, told Fox News its findings are more consistent with homicidal strangulation than suicidal hanging. He noted that the 66-year-old Epstein had 2 fractures on the left and right sides of his larynx, specifically the thyroid cartilage or Adam's apple, as well as 1 fracture of the left hyoid bone above the Adam's apple, Baden told Fox News. Okay, so that was if you don't know physiology that well, if you don't know anatomy that well, it's kind of important and it would help you to know this, but just know the whole point of this article is that I want to say, okay, will this bring this back into the headline news? Here's the thing. The public already didn't believe the reports. When there was no camera footage, we knew. I mean, it's like your cameras were broken. So they worked perfectly well during the rest of the year and the rest of time, but at this moment, multiple cameras just stopped working. Nobody believed that. Okay, so Baden, this is according to the article. Well, let me read this quote first. Those 3 fractures are extremely unusual in suicide hangings and could occur more commonly in homicidal strangulation. Baden, who is also a Fox News contributor, said, while there's not enough information to be conclusive yet, the 3 fractures were rare, said Baden, whose probed cases involving O.J. Simpson, JFK, Martin Luther King, record producer Phil Spector, and New England Patriots star Aaron Hernandez, and many others. I would personally hardly call Aaron Hernandez a star. I mean, he was good, but he wasn't a star. But anyway, this guy he knows his stuff, okay? And here's something huge. I've not seen in 50 years where that occurred in a suicidal hanging. We all know what he's saying, but he can't come out and say that he was murdered. Now, we as a society, this is on us. Not this whole sex ring, but this right here. We need to find out who killed Jeffrey Epstein. We need these names to come out. We need these people to be revealed. And how do we do this? Well, I'm going to say this. Media is very powerful. It's extremely powerful. It's actually going to be part of one of my next topics. And we have to find a way to use the media to get our point across of saying, okay, we all know Jeffrey Epstein did not kill himself. You need to investigate because we need to know what happened and how can we prevent this from happening again. How can we do this? Because we don't want this to happen. No one. Here's the thing. Here's the amazing thing. Okay, when you look at pedophiles or child molesters, no one likes those people. No one likes those people. In prison, they have to be watched very carefully because even the prisoners, even the lowlifes in prison can't stand those people. Okay, so if we want to get this stuff right, we as a society, we have to go to the media, we have to tweet about it, we have to write articles about it, we have to do the things to get this investigation going. Because I remember when he killed himself, Attorney General Bill Barr said, okay, there's going to be an investigation. We haven't heard anything since that day. The only thing that has been coming out is, here's the thing, pretty much when he died, that was it. There was I want to say there was like a week where we didn't hear anything about Jeffrey Epstein at all. And then someone, I'm going to admit, I actually nearly forgot the whole Jeffrey Epstein thing happened until I saw something in the news. I was like, oh yeah, that happened. Because remember, when he got caught, he was in the news every single day for hours on end. He dies, nothing. Just nothing. And it's like, okay, man, so are we going to get any answers? We have to figure out who was behind this, what person or what group. And here's the thing. It's going to be hard to investigate because there are so many people with motives. Successful, rich, powerful, resourceful people. And it's like, okay, what are you going to do? How are we going to get these guys? And I believe, here's the thing. We as regular citizens, we can't go out and do the investigation ourselves. We can't. But what we can do, we can just show, okay, we know we know something happened. We don't buy what you gave us. We don't buy we're not going to eat the food that you're giving us. Oh yeah, so Mr. Epstein, he was found dead in his cell, and he hung himself. Nobody bought that. No one bought that. If you bought that, I question your ability to reason. Or I would just say, okay, you probably knew absolutely nothing about Jeffrey Epstein. You just heard there was a guy who was found dead in his cell, and you're just like, oh, okay, whatever. For some reason, this guy's in the news. Those would be my arguments. If you actually believed that Jeffrey Epstein killed himself. So we have to show and we have to express we are not satisfied. We are not okay with the garbage that you just try to give us. Which is really, more than anything, just insulting. You really thought we were going to buy that? I mean, seriously. You're like, okay, we'll give him this. Well, okay, what are we going to say? Okay, we'll just say he killed himself. I mean, how stupid do you think millions of people are collectively? I mean, you don't have, here's the thing. You don't have to be brilliant to know to know that he didn't kill himself. You could have been an average person and just looking at the details surrounding his death, and you're like, okay, I don't know all that stuff about the anatomy and stuff like that, but I can figure out with broken cameras, fake guards. He wasn't checked on for 3 hours. He had no cellmate. He was already on suicide watch, taken off a list, and then put in a cell by himself. Clearly something happened, because that's not protocol at all. So that's all I'm going to say about this. But we have to show that we aren't taking this. That we're not going to just accept and just lay down and take that answer of he killed himself, because we know he didn't. We need an investigation. We need to find out what happened. Who was behind this? Okay. Where am I going to go next here? I think I'm going to go... I'll go with the NFL story. Okay. So, ABC News, yesterday, came out with an article that says the NFL earns lowest score for racial gender hiring in 15 years. Okay. Here we go. The NFL received its lowest overall score in racial and gender hiring practices in 15 years, according to a new diversity report. The Institute for Diversity and Ethics in Sport released its annual racial and gender report card Wednesday, giving the NFL a B for racial hiring practices and a C plus for gender hiring practices. This gave the NFL a combined B- grade for its overall score of 79.3, a notable decrease from its score of 81.6 last year. Most notably, the B for racial hiring practices broke a streak of 9 consecutive years of earning an A- or higher. The NFL's score for race was 82.3, 6.7 percentage points lower than last year's score of 89%. The score for gender was 76%, a 2-point percentage increase from 2018. Almost all of this attributed to drop in head coaches and head coach of color and general managers of color, because we put additional weight on those numbers. Here's what people need to understand. I hate this story because I don't understand the idea. I don't understand the idea of you having to hire certain people just for the sake of diversity. That's stupid. You should hire based off competence. If someone is not competent, I don't care what they are. I don't care if they are a Martian. I don't care if they are... Here's what we need to understand about a job. Whatever the job is. Let's say you have a job to flip patties. Okay? You work at a fast food restaurant. Let me throw out a number. Let's say you have to flip 1,000 patties in an hour. I don't know. I just came up with a number, okay? If you have a quota of 1,000 patties an hour, and you consistently produce less than the quota that you are supposed to produce, you are not competent for that job, and you need to go because you can't clearly do the job. I don't care if you're a man. I don't care if you're a woman. The best person for the job should be in the job. Stop looking at race and gender. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. When you look at this stuff, it's about, okay, can you do it? Hiring for the sake of hiring based on the sake of diversity, it's going to kill us as an economy, and it'll kill a business. Because I'm going to say this again, and I've said this multiple times across many topics, but this applies. If you're trying to do two things, if you're trying to go for competence and, diversity, you have to prioritize one, okay? And in order to do whichever one you prioritize, the second one is going to suffer. Anything under the first one is going to suffer. What is your main goal? Is your main goal competence? Okay, diversity is going to suffer because you're going to be like, okay, can they do the job? Can they do the job? It's just that simple. I remember when what's that guy's name? For the one who used to coach the Browns, Hugh Jackson. I remember he used to do whatchamacallit. He used to talk about how he pretty much he got fired. And he went just off the top of my head, I think he went 4-48-1. I mean, he was horrible. And then his friend Marvin Lewis hired him as a special, either a special assistant or like an advisor to him. Which I don't know why you would want Hugh Jackson as an advisor to you if you're that bad. But it's like you can't stop looking at race. Can you do the job? It's like this. I gave the Patty example. Let me give another example. Okay. This is probably gonna get me in more trouble, but whatever. Take models for example. Let's say bikini models, okay? What is their job? If you have a bikini model, what does that mean? That means their job is to look good in a bikini, and it's to make others want to buy that bikini. Okay? That's their job. If they don't look good in the bikini, and they don't make you want to get that, if they don't want to make women buy that bikini, they're not doing their job well. It's that simple. Stop. I mean, this is so stupid. I mean, you've got Brian Flores as coach of the Dolphins. He is, I mean, they're tanking it. I mean, they're the worst football team I can think of since I've been watching football, which has been the third grade. I mean, they are god awful. And I'm not saying it's because he's black, but NFL. Here's the thing: NFL owners make a lot of money. They're billionaires. Okay, they've worked hard to get to where they are, and part of doing that, part of becoming a billionaire, is understanding good investments. You have to know, okay, where should I put my money? Am I going to get my money's worth? You have to do that if you want to succeed. And I think they are examples of, succeeding. Now, you may say, they had a silver spoon in their mouth, as they were growing up. Yes, but they still have to maintain their ability to succeed. Let's say they're already at the top. Let's say they were son of a billionaire and then they inherited the team. They still have to make good decisions. It's not like they just get it just like, so I have the mind of, the person who had it before me. No, they're their own person. They still have to work to maintain and raise the legacy of the team and themselves. I am not for telling people how to use their money. It's their money. telling someone to hire. Here's what they're doing. They're saying hire more women and hire minorities just for the sake of being diverse. I don't care. I don't care if you're black. I don't care if you're white. I don't care if you're a Latino. I don't care. Can you do the job, man? Woman, can you do it? That's all that matters. Lapchick noted that there are currently only 4 people of color in head coaching positions, down from a record-tying 8 to start the 2017 and 2018 seasons. Also, there were only GMs who are people of color to start the 2019 season. A decrease from 4 in 2018 and 6 in 2017. That's concerning. No, it isn't. No, it isn't. In an attempt to progressively, and I hate this rule, the Rooney Rule. In an attempt to progressively continue diversity and inclusion efforts, the NFL made improvements to the Rooney Rule, forcing teams to go outside their organizations to interview a candidate of color or to interview a candidate who is on the league's career development advisory panel list, Lapchick said. So you're telling me, you are going to tell me who I have to interview. You have to interview at least one person of color. Here's what's so stupid about that rule. That rule does nothing. It does nothing. Here's why. You pull in a person of color, or you have a head coaching position open. You're like, okay, well, guys, we gotta find a new coach. Okay, do we have anyone in mind? Usually the answer is yes. Usually there's already a short list. Okay, you look at that short list and they're like, okay, you like him, you like that person. Okay, all right. Let's see if we can get these people in. Wait a minute, we don't have a person of color on here. Well, we'll just bring anyone over and just give them an interview and then we followed the rule. That's what that does. You already have people in mind when you replace someone. That's usually what happens. It's not like, oh, that's it. We have no head coach. Well, we got no direction. We don't know what to do. We'll go for anybody. Just make your best pitch to us. Sometimes your mind is changed, but usually you already have an idea of who you want to hire. It doesn't matter what their color is. It doesn't matter, and I'm so tired of this happening, man. Most of the NFL is black. Or I should say most of the NFL players are black. I think, don't quote me on this. Don't quote me on this. I think it's a little bit above 70%. I think. So, that's pretty good. That's pretty high. If you want to talk about diversity. But at the end of the day, you have to look at it this way. Owners also want to know, okay, who do I put on the field? Who's going to get me wins? Who's going to get me revenue? That's what I care about. They don't care about race. They're like, okay, who can I get? There are certain groups, certain ethnicities, certain cultures that are good, that are better suited, at certain things. Yep, well, there you go. That was weird. Okay. But you have where they only go for people that they're interested in. They go, okay, who's going to bring in revenue? Who's going to bring in numbers? Who's going to raise the stock here? And, blacks have more fast twitch muscles. Blacks are typically more athletic. They're faster. And those are good things that you need in football. This is just, it's just so pitiful, man. Stop telling people how to spend their money and stop trying to hire just for sheer diversity. It's not about diversity. Who can get the job done? That is what matters. If you can get the job done and you can do it at a high level, good. Let's get them. These are hard positions to get. They are. Because people say the NFL is a club, or I should say sports organizations are clubs in a way where if you get fired somewhere, you're still in the community of people who could get hired. So like one coach, he can get fired and then, they could be seen as bad and then they still get hired again. And then there are people on the outside of the gate trying to look in and get inside for just one shot. I get it. It's hard. But here's the thing. People naturally tend to go with people that they're comfortable with than people that they're uncomfortable with. They would rather bring in someone who's proven and maybe not that good than someone who's like, okay, I don't really know how good you are, but here's the keys to the franchise. That's not a thing. That's not something you do. You go with people. You decide to go with people who you're comfortable with. It's hard. I get it. Though there's only so many positions. There's only 32 head coaching positions. They're very hard to get. When you get it, you should hold on to it for dear life and do the very best you can. It's just that simple. Stop looking at this as a racial thing. It's not about that. Can you get the job done? And I say this to other people. I say this to people now. Most of my listeners aren't NFL or NBA or anything like that players. They're average everyday Joes. If you're a minority or if you're a woman, I should say if you're a minority in whatever sector you are, and you're trying to go for something and you get rejected, stop looking at it as a racial or gender-based thing. Stop. Just don't do that to yourself, because when you do that, it's like this. It's always easier to blame someone else. If you look at it in a light that says, oh, they didn't hire me because it's like this. If I go to a job interview and I say, oh, I don't get the job, it's like, oh, they didn't hire me because I'm black. If that's my mindset, I can't change the fact that I'm black. Then in my mind, it's like, okay, you know what? If I can't get hired because I'm black, why shoot for anything then? That's a big problem I have with Black Lives Matter and stuff like that. Because they always try to show that black people are victims and minorities are victims. And it's like, if you just have this victim mentality and you have this mindset that whatever you do, you're gonna not succeed and you're not gonna be in first because you're black. Well, why try for anything? Why shoot? Why have goals? Why try anything? If I just have this belief that I'm always going to be last because of my skin color or because of my genitalia. If you have that mindset, just do yourself a favor. Don't do anything. My goodness. Okay. I got pretty heated on that one. Okay. Now, this is from Forbes. And I'm going to say this to the left. Okay? And Tommy Loren actually made this point. And Tommy Loren, I've said this multiple times, but she's not the smartest person. There's a lot of stuff she says that I think is kind of dumb and stupid, flat out. But she is sexy. Okay, that's all I got to say about Tommy Loren. Oh, not just that. But she made the same point that I'm about to make. The left is all about the left is the left is the side of the spectrum that came up with this whole cancel culture thing. Okay? President Obama. You remember that guy? The guy who was in before Donald Trump? You remember that guy? That guy? The black guy? The one who is, yes we can? That guy? Yes, him. He is telling the left to stop cancel culture. He's saying to get over it. Let me say this. When you have President Obama, pretty much the darling of the left for practically a decade, when he's telling you guys to stop, that means you guys are going way too far. He was quiet for a long time. He hasn't said anything about the election, really. He's been to himself. Him and Michelle have been doing their thing. They've been smart. They've been staying out of politics. Good for them. But he has now come out and said, hey, okay, that's enough. That's enough of the cancel culture. It doesn't really do anything. It was beautiful. And it just shows, like, if you're on the left and you are supporting cancel culture, just think about this. Your former darling for a decade, President Barack Hussein Obama, is saying stop with the cancel culture. That's pretty powerful stuff. That's amazing. So here's the article. In this picture, he's with the very lovely Yara Shahidi, she is so pretty to me. Like, she's just amazing. I think she's a good actress. I can't wait to see what she does in the future. But yeah, I like Yara Shahidi. Okay, here we go. A recurring theme in my posts on Forbes.com has been the excess of cancel culture, in which individuals are punished for acts that are considered a violation of today's social justice norms, even if those acts occurred very long ago, were isolated instances, or happened in a complex context. Previous posts have discussed a school security guard who was fired for telling a student not to call him the N-word, a governor under pressure to resign because she wore blackface at a college event half a century ago, a student's admission to Harvard revoked because of private racist remarks he wrote in high school, and a college trustee forced to resign because he once wore a Nazi costume to a college party decades ago. Now, a lot of those I'm familiar with, or I should say this, I'm not familiar with the security guard being called the N-word. I'm familiar with Kyle Kashuv having his Harvard admission revoked because of him saying nigga or niggas and stuff like that, and private text messages, which I again don't care about. I don't care about. There's just bigger things to worry about. And here we go. Obviously, a lot of these incidents are connected to allegations of racism. So it was particularly interesting to hear President Barack Obama weigh in so forcefully on the issue last night. Speaking at an Obama Foundation summit in Chicago, he said, "One danger I see among young people, particularly on college campuses, I do get a sense something now among certain young people, and this is accelerated by social media. There is this sense sometimes the way of me making change is to be as judgmental as possible about other people, and that's enough. Like if I tweet or hashtag about how you didn't do something right or use the wrong verb, then I can sit back and feel pretty good about myself. 'Cause man, did you see how woke I was? I called you out." President Obama, I believe you hit it on the head. You hit the nail on the head. See, here's the thing. Social justice warriors, they're very narcissistic. They look at themselves and they think that they're just these people who are they're so woke and they're so intelligent and they are just so up to date and they are so qualified to look at people and just say, okay, who is following the rules of society? Who is following the norms and who's doing the correct thing? We look at these people and we say, oh, you're not doing the correct thing. You know, we're gonna cancel you. It is just so disgusting and so narcissistic. He hit it on the head. Obama may have been motivated to speak on this issue as a result of yet another blackface incident, this one involving Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. Obama tweeted his support for Trudeau after pictures of him in brown face paint hit the internet. Trudeau apologized for his poor judgment, but many refused to accept the apology. I don't understand. Here's what I'm saying. It's like this. Let's just say we all just bow down to the social justice warriors and just say, okay, whatever you say, it goes, and whoever you say cancel, we cancel. Let's say we do that. What do you want those people to do? When those people are canceled, quote unquote canceled, and those people are now rejected from society and you don't accept their apology, what do you want them to do? Time machines, in case you don't know, time machines either are not released to the public yet, or they don't exist. We can't go back to fix the mistakes that we made. You can't do that. So when someone says, oh, okay, you know what? Someone says, okay, you know what? You're right. I'm sorry. No, we don't accept your apology. What do you want them to do? And and here's the thing. Here's the thing about apologies. You don't have to accept them. You can accept them or you can ignore them. You don't have to take them. And here's the thing. If you are apologizing, it doesn't matter if they take it or not. It doesn't. Because here's the thing. An apology is like this. You stick your hand out for a handshake. You can't make the person want to shake your hand. You can grab them by their hand, form it into the correct shape to shake your hand, and then you do it. That doesn't necessarily mean that they accepted it. That means you forced them to do it. You can't make someone accept your apology. But Obama hit the nail on the head. It's about, feeling woke and just judging others. One, because I think you have nothing better to do. I think that's one reason. And also because you just think that you're just so much better than everyone else. And it's like a lot of these instances, they don't even matter that much. I mean, you had people wanting to cancel Dave Chappelle. Some people, and remember, social justice warriors, here's what we need to understand. Social justice warriors are a small portion of the population. They're a very small group of people relative to the rest of everyone else. And it's like, when did we just decide to just let this small, ridiculous minority of people just make the rules and just say, okay, we're going to go with that? These aren't elected officials. These are just people who we think, they feel it's their right to create norms of society, and that everyone else is just supposed to follow them. It's ridiculous. Kevin Hart, he was hit with cancel culture. Dave Chappelle, so many people. I mean, it's just so stupid. It's so stupid. I mean, Kanye West, Logan Paul. And here's the thing with Logan Paul. Logan Paul was canceled after he posted a deeply disturbing video involving suicide on YouTube. This is from a different article, by the way. And he's, to me, here's the thing. When I saw that video, I was like, I gotta be honest, I didn't care that much because I was like, okay, first of all, it's a weird video. Why would you even want to go there? Why would you even want to go to a forest where I think they call it Suicide Forest, if I remember correctly. Why would you even want to go there in the first place? And it's like, of all the possible things you could have done a video on, you made fun of, people committing suicide. It's like there were just so many other things that you could have done. Taylor Swift has been canceled many times. It's just stupid. It is stupid. James Gunn. And remember, he was fired from shooting Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 this summer when tweets written between 2008 and 2012 that joked about child abuse and pedophilia resurfaced. And here's what you guys already know what I say about resurfaced. These things don't resurface. These things are dug up. They don't just come up naturally to the top of your feed. No. People just have there are certain people who have lives, and their life is focused on, okay, what dirt can I find on anybody? That there are some jobs that do that. And it's like, okay, let me go through all their social media. Let me just go through that. And that's why you should also be careful what you post on social media. So you scroll, you find something, and you're like, doggone it, I done found something. And then you bring it up and you're like, look at what this person did. Man, I mean, it doesn't help anybody. And here's what I'm saying. This is what I'm saying when the left, they don't want inclusion. They don't want diversity. Because what happens is when you say, okay, if someone says, okay, I made a mistake, I did the wrong thing, and you don't accept their apology, that by definition means that you are excluding them. You're excluding them because you are not accepting them and you are not taking them in. And you're just like, okay, you know what? You made a mistake. You can't go back. You can't fix it. But you know what? You can start now and work your way forward. So it's almost like you have to be perfect, which is not possible because norms change all the time and there are different standards with different people. I mean, let's be real. If we were all just honest and we all just looked at our own stuff, we'd be like, wow, no, I mean, nobody here is clean. I mean, it's just ridiculous. People's bars on social norms, they vary. But let me tell you something. I'm going to say this again and then I'm done. When President Obama, of all people, tells you to stop with cancel culture, that means you need to stop. I'm talking to the left here. When he says you got to stop, that means you guys have come to a point where you're like, okay, cancel, and Obama's just looking at this and then like, okay, all right, I'm trying to be quiet about this. Keep doing it. And then he's like, at some point, he's just like, that's it. I have to say something. He's just trying to still decompress from being president. He's trying to make up lost time that he, couldn't spend with his wife and his kids. He's trying to go out and have fun. But he pulled himself back into pop culture and stuff like that and said stop with the cancel culture. If he did that, that means you gotta just stop. You gotta just end it. And it's so ridiculous. It is so ridiculous. And let me say this. If you are, I guess, I hate using this word, but if you're a victim of cancel culture and you're told, okay, you know what, if you're pretty much told, okay, you're canceled, okay, you're done, no one wants to be around you. You keep fighting. Keep fighting. Don't just bow to these people. I have people who've told me that my stuff is extremely mean and that I'm mean, I'm rude, I'm a sociopath, I'm a psychopath, I'm canceled, I'm just a whole bunch of stuff. It's like don't listen to these buffoons. Just leave it alone. And based on your mentality, you can turn that into fuel for the fire. and you keep going about your passion. You haven't done anything wrong. And if you did, you can't go back. You can apologize and just be like, okay, I'm sorry. And also, let me say this. I know I keep saying I'm going to stop, but you guys know how I get. If you don't believe you've done anything wrong, don't apologize. Ever. Don't say I'm sorry unless you are. Here's what I'm sorry means. I am sorry. The phrase I am sorry is short for I am sorrowful, which means you feel bad, you feel sorry, you feel what you have done is wrong. If you don't feel that, don't say I am sorry, because first of all, it's a lie. And two, it doesn't really do anything if you don't mean it. That's all I gotta say, man. Just, this cancel culture, man, it's just absolutely ridiculous.